The conference room fell silent when the holographic map appeared. Red lines marked the boundaries of human space, glowing like warning signs across the star chart. Delegates from 40 different species sat around the table, but none of them would look directly at those red lines. Taemin stood at his post 300 light-years away from that meeting, watching the same boundaries on his screen. He was 28 years old and had never seen anyone cross the border in his 5 years of service. The monitoring station hummed quietly around him, machines tracking every ship that came near human territory. "Another quiet day," Hana said, walking into the control room with 2 cups of coffee. She was his commanding officer, a woman in her 50s, with gray streaking through her black hair. She had been doing this job for 30 years. Taemin took the coffee and smiled. "Do you think it will always be like this?" Hana sat down at her station and pulled up the long-range sensors. "I hope so. Peace is boring, and boring is good." Across the galaxy, Vex's Thor slammed his fist on the navigation console of his ship. His species stood nearly 8 feet tall, covered in thick scales that could stop most weapons. They were warriors, conquerors, and he refused to believe the stories about humans. "It is just empty space," he told his crew. "They are small, weak creatures who got lucky once. The galaxy treats them like monsters. But I see through the lies." His navigator, a smaller member of his species, looked nervous. "Captain, the warnings are very clear. No ship has entered human space and returned unchanged in 300 years. Vex Thor laughed. "Then we will be the first. There are valuable trading routes through their territory. We could cut our journey time by half." The navigator wanted to argue, but Vex Thor was already setting the course. The ship turned toward the red boundary line that every other species avoided. Back at the Galactic Council, an elderly delegate stood to speak. His species had been spacefaring for over 10,000 years. "We must discuss the human question again. It has been 3 centuries since the incident. Perhaps it is time to attempt communication." The room erupted in panic. Several delegates stood up, shouting over each other. One of them, a being made of crystalline structures, spoke loudly enough to quiet the others. "You were not there. You did not see what they did. The humans did not just defeat the coalition. They destroyed it so completely that 3 of the attacking species no longer exist as unified governments. They did this in less than 1 standard month." Another delegate added, "And they did it without ever leaving their territory. They simply sent back information, messages, truth, and it tore apart empires that had stood for millennia." The elderly delegate sat down slowly. No one brought up the human question again. Taemin was reading a book when the alarms went off. He dropped it immediately and pulled up the sensor data. A ship was approaching the boundary at high speed. "Hana!" he called out. She was there in seconds, her coffee forgotten. They both watched as the ship's trajectory became clear. It was going to cross the line. "Send the standard warnings," Hana said quietly. Her face showed no emotion, but Taemin had worked with her long enough to see the sadness in her eyes. He activated the automated warning system, a message broadcast in 5,000 languages, using every known form of communication. "This is the human territorial boundary. Entry is forbidden by Galactic Treaty 773. Turn back immediately. This is your only warning. We do not wish to engage. Please turn back." Vex Thor heard the message and laughed again. "See? They beg us to stay away. They are afraid." His navigator was checking the ship's systems. Everything appeared normal. No weapons locked onto them. No defense satellites activated. Just empty space and that repeating warning message. "Captain, I really think we should." Silence. "We are going through." The ship crossed the red line. For exactly 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then, every system on Vexthor's ship began to fail. Not violently, not like an attack. They simply stopped working. Engines, weapons, life support, communications, Everything went dark except for emergency power. Vex Thor stood in the emergency lighting, his confidence draining away. What happened? What did they do to us? His navigator was frantically trying to restart the systems. I don't know, Captain. There was no attack, no energy weapons, no projectiles. Our systems just stopped. In the darkness of the disabled ship, a new message appeared on their emergency screen. It was written in their language, perfectly translated. You have entered human space. A rescue team is being dispatched. Please remain calm. You will not be harmed. Estimated arrival: 14 minutes. Vex Thor read the message 3 times. 14 minutes. They were over a light year from the nearest known human outpost. How could anyone reach them in 14 minutes? Hana sighed deeply at her station. Another one. They never listen. Taemin was already pulling up the rescue protocols. Should I dispatch June's team? Yes. And call Minji. If they are who I think they are, we will need a xenobiologist. Hana stood up and grabbed her uniform jacket. I suppose I should go too. Someone has to do the paperwork. Taemin watched his commander leave, then looked back at the red lines on his screen. The ship sat just inside human territory, disabled and helpless. In 14 minutes, Vex Thor would begin to understand why the galaxy feared humanity, and why even the stars seemed to avoid human space. Vex's Thor had been a ship captain for 20 years. He had fought pirates, survived 3 wars, and navigated through the most dangerous regions of space. But he had never felt fear like this. The human ships appeared exactly 14 minutes after the message. 3 small vessels, each no larger than a personal transport. They did not look military. They did not look threatening. That somehow made it worse. Captain, they are here, his navigator whispered. Through the viewport, Vex Thor watched the human ships move. They circled his disabled vessel with perfect precision, like predators studying prey. The movements were too smooth, too coordinated. These were not random rescue workers. These were professionals. A voice came through their emergency communications. It spoke their language, without any accent or translation delay. This is Rescue Team 4, led by June. We are here to help. We will be boarding your ship to assess damage and provide medical assistance if needed. Do not be alarmed. Vex's Thor wanted to refuse, but his ship had no power. He had no choice. The docking was silent and efficient. Vex Thor heard the airlock open, and then footsteps in the corridor. Human footsteps. He had never met a human in person before. June entered the bridge first. He was young, perhaps 30 in human years, wearing a simple gray uniform. He was small compared to Vex Thor, barely reaching the alien's chest. But the way he moved made Vex Thor's warrior instincts scream warnings. Good afternoon, June said politely. Is anyone injured? Vex Thor found his voice. No. What did you do to my ship? Ting. June smiled, and it was not a threatening expression. It was genuine, even friendly. Your ship entered our space. We disabled it remotely. Standard protocol. Do not worry. Everything can be fixed. How did you disable it? There was no attack. No, there was not. June agreed. He gestured to his team, and 4 other humans entered the bridge. They immediately began working on the ship's systems, moving with practiced efficiency. We prefer not to damage vessels, if we can avoid it. One of June's team members, a woman, looked up from a console. Sir, their navigation system is Telnarian-made. Model 7. I can have it running in about 10 minutes. June nodded. Thank you, Saman. Vex Thor stared at the woman. How do you know our navigation model? That technology is only 5 years old. Saman did not look up from her work. We know all of your technology, Captain. We have been studying it since your people first achieved spaceflight. That was about 200 years ago. Correct? The casual way she said it made Vex's Thor's blood run cold. 200 years of observation. How much did humans know about his species? Another human entered the bridge, this one carrying a medical scanner. She was older, perhaps in her 40s, with kind eyes. Hello, I am Minji. I am a xenobiologist. I need to scan you and your crew to make sure the system shutdown did not harm you. We are fine, Vex Thor said, but Minji was already scanning him. She studied the results on her device, nodding to herself. Good cardiovascular health. Slight calcium deficiency, probably from extended space travel. Your species needs more ultraviolet light than your ship provides. You should adjust your lighting systems. Vex Thor felt exposed. How do you know about our biology? Minji smiled the same friendly smile that June had given. We have extensive files on all known species. Your people are quite resilient, actually. High pain tolerance, excellent natural armor, strong regenerative abilities. Very impressive. She continued talking as she scanned the rest of his crew. Of course, you are vulnerable to certain frequencies of sound that can disrupt your inner ear balance, and your armor has weak points at the joints that could be exploited in combat. Your primary organs are centralized, which makes you efficient but also creates a single point of failure. Fascinating species, really. Vex Thor listened in horror as this human woman casually listed every vulnerability his people had. She was not threatening him. She was simply stating facts, the way someone might describe the weather. June's team had the ship's systems running within 15 minutes. The lights came back on, and the engines hummed to life. It was as if nothing had ever been wrong. There you go, June said. Everything is fixed. We did not damage anything. The navigator checked the systems and confirmed it. Everything worked perfectly, perhaps even better than before. Before Vex Thor could speak, the bridge door opened again. 2 more humans entered. One was the young man from the monitoring station, Tae Min. The other was an older woman with gray hair, wearing a commander's insignia. I am Hana, the woman said. I command this border sector. You are Vex's Thor, captain of the merchant vessel Tidebreaker, registered to the Velkhani Empire. You crossed into human territory in violation of Galactic Treaty 773. Vex Thor straightened up, trying to regain some dignity. I did not believe the stories about human space. I thought they were exaggerations. Hana's expression did not change. They are not exaggerations, Captain. They are usually understatements. She walked to the viewport and looked out at the stars. You are lucky. You came alone, and you came in a merchant vessel. If you had come with weapons, this would be a very different conversation. Vex Thor felt the need to defend himself. I am a warrior. I have fought in 3 wars. I fear nothing. Hana turned to look at him. Her eyes were not cruel, but they were ancient in a way that had nothing to do with age. That is good, Captain. Fear is a poor teacher. Understanding is better. She nodded to Tae Min, who pulled up a holographic display. You wanted to know why everyone avoids human space. Would you like us to show you? Vex Thor thought about refusing, but his curiosity was stronger than his pride. Yes. 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 Hana smiled slightly. Good. We will take you to the archive. It is a museum we maintain on the border. Every species that has ever entered our space without permission has a file there. You will have one too, now. June and his team were already leaving. Their work complete. Minji packed her medical scanner and gave Vex Thor one last friendly smile. Try to get more ultraviolet light, Captain. It will help with the calcium absorption. Then the humans were gone, leaving Vex Thor and his crew in their fully functional ship, surrounded by the silence of human space. Hana's voice came through the communication system. Follow us, Captain. The archive is not far. You will learn what you came here to find out. Why humans are feared. Why no one dares enter our space. Why even the stars know to stay away. Vex Thor looked at his navigator, who looked terrified. But they had come this far. They might as well see it through. He activated the engines and followed the human ship deeper into territory that the galaxy had declared forbidden for 300 years. The archive looked like a crystal growing in space. It orbited a small moon right at the edge of human territory, massive and gleaming. Vex Thor had expected a military fortress, but this building looked more like a temple or a library. His ship docked, and Hana led him through corridors lined with soft lighting. Everything was quiet. Everything was clean. It felt nothing like a military installation. A human man waited for them in the main hall. He was middle-aged, wearing simple clothes, and he smiled when they entered. "Welcome to the archive," the man said. "My name is Do-hyun. I am the curator here. You must be Captain Vex Thor." Vex Thor nodded, uncomfortable with how much these humans seemed to know about him. Do-hyun gestured to the vast space around them. The hall stretched in all directions, filled with displays and holographic exhibits. "This is where we keep our memories. Every encounter, every mistake that others made. We maintain this place so that we never forget, and so that others can learn." "Learn what?" Vex Thor asked. "Why isolation is mercy," Do-hyun said simply. He began walking, and Vex Thor followed. The first exhibit was a holographic display showing a fleet of ships. They were rough, aggressive-looking vessels with visible weapons. "The Kethran Raiders," Do-hyun explained. "They entered human space 40 years ago. They were pirates, some of the most successful in the galaxy. They had raided over 300 systems in their 20-year career." The hologram showed the pirate fleet attacking a human cargo ship. Vex Thor watched as the pirates boarded the vessel, expecting easy prey. "They took our cargo and killed 3 crew members," Do-hyun continued quietly. "Then they left human space, thinking they had gotten away with it." The hologram shifted. It showed human ships following the pirates, staying far behind, never attacking. The pursuit lasted weeks. We followed them. We watched them. We learned where they kept their bases, who their buyers were, how their organization worked. We learned everything. Another human joined them, a woman with sharp eyes and a historian's bearing. "I am Sujin," she said to Vex Thor. "I study interspecies conflicts. This case is particularly educational." The hologram showed what happened next. Human ships did not attack the pirate fleet. Instead, they went to every world the pirates had ever raided. They shared information, coordinated responses, provided technology and tactical support. Within 3 months, the Kethran Raiders were being hunted by every government they had ever wronged. The pirates tried to flee to their secret bases, but humans had already shared those coordinates with everyone. "The Kethran Raiders no longer exist," Do-hyun said. "We did not destroy them ourselves. We simply made sure that everyone they had ever hurt could find them. We gave their victims the tools and information they needed for justice." Vex Thor stared at the hologram. It showed the pirate leaders being arrested, their ships impounded, their organization completely dismantled. "You did all this because of one ship? 3 deaths?" Sujin nodded. "We do not just defend, we eliminate problems permanently. If someone is willing to attack us once, they will do it again, unless we remove their ability to do so." They moved to the next exhibit. This one showed a massive probe, clearly military in design. "The Zelnathi Empire sent this into our space 15 years ago," Do-hyun said. "They are an aggressive species. Very militaristic. They wanted to test our defenses." The hologram showed the probe moving through human territory, scanning everything. Then, human ships appeared. But they did not destroy the probe. Instead, they captured it. "We studied their probe for 4 days," Sujin explained. "We learned how their technology worked. Then, we improved it." The hologram showed human engineers working on the probe, making modifications. They added new systems, upgraded the power supply, fixed design flaws. "We sent it back to them with a message," Do-hyun said. The hologram displayed the text in Zelnathi language. "Thank you for the interesting technology." We found several design flaws that were compromising your probe's effectiveness. We have fixed them for you. We hope this demonstrates our technical capabilities. Please, do not send military assets into our space again. We prefer peace, but we are very good at understanding your systems. Vexthor read the message twice. What happened to the Zelnathi Empire? Sujin pulled up more data. They panicked. If humans could improve their military technology in just 4 days, what else could humans do? The Zelnathi government began investigating whether humans had infiltrated their society. They started suspecting their own people. Within a year, they had 3 civil wars. Their empire broke into 7 smaller nations. You destroyed their empire by fixing their probe? We did not destroy anything, Do-hyun corrected gently. We simply showed them what we were capable of. They destroyed themselves through fear and paranoia. We never attacked them. We never even entered their space. They walked deeper into the archive. Exhibit after exhibit showed similar stories. A military incursion that ended with the attacking species' own fleet turning back in confusion. A spy satellite that humans reprogrammed and sent back with improved features. A diplomatic insult that humans responded to with such detailed historical records of the insulting species' own mistakes that their government collapsed from embarrassment. Do you see the pattern? Sujin asked Vexthor. He did see it. Humans never struck first. They never invaded. They never seemed to want conflict. But when conflict came to them, they did not simply fight back. They understood. They studied. They learned. And then they made the problem disappear completely. You are not warriors. Vexthor said slowly. You are something else. Do-hyun smiled. We are survivors. There is a difference. Warriors fight for glory, for honor, for conquest. Survivors fight to ensure the threat never comes back. They reached a section of the archive that was darker than the rest. A large door stood at the end of the corridor, sealed and marked with warning signs in hundreds of languages. What is that? Vexthor asked. Hana, who had been quietly following the entire tour, spoke up. That is the incident. The event that created the boundary. The reason the galaxy fears us. Do-hyun's smile faded. 300 years ago, 12 species decided that humanity was too dangerous to remain independent. They formed a coalition and invaded human space with overwhelming force. Would you like to know what happened? Vexthor looked at the sealed door. Part of him wanted to leave, to return to his ship and flee human space as fast as his engines could carry him. But he had come here for answers. Yes, he said. I want to know. Hana placed her hand on the door's access panel. Then, we will show you. But understand, Captain, once you see this, you will never think about humanity the same way again. You will understand why we chose isolation, why we maintain this boundary, and why everyone who crosses it learns fear. The door opened with a soft hiss, revealing a chamber beyond. Vexy's Thor stepped forward, and the truth of human space began to unfold before him. The chamber was round and empty, except for a single chair in the center. An old human man sat there, his hands folded in his lap, his eyes distant with memory. He looked up when they entered. Another visitor, the old man said. His voice was soft but carried weight. I am Kyung. I was 25 years old when the incident happened. I am one of the few who survived the first contact. Vexthor studied the man. Kyung had to be over 300 years old, kept alive by human medical technology. His face was lined with age, but his eyes were sharp. Sit, please, Kyung said, gesturing to the floor. This story is not short. The chamber's walls came alive with holographic projections. They showed Earth and its colonies 300 years ago. Peaceful, growing, young. We were not powerful then, Kyung said. We had only been in space for 200 years. We had a few colonies, some trade routes, basic defensive capabilities. We were children, compared to the older species. The hologram shifted to show 12 different alien fleets gathering at the edge of human space. The Coalition of 12. Kyung's voice hardened. They were the most powerful species in the galaxy at that time. They decided that humanity's rapid technological growth was a threat. They believed we would eventually become dangerous, so they chose to act first. Another human entered the chamber. She was younger, perhaps 60 years old, with the bearing of a scientist. "I am Nari," she said to Vexthor. "I was part of the response team. I helped design the protocols." The hologram showed the invasion beginning. Thousands of ships. Billions of soldiers. The coalition came with enough force to conquer 50 human worlds. "They expected us to surrender immediately," Kyung said. "They offered terms. They would occupy our worlds, control our government, limit our technology. They said it was for the good of the galaxy." "What did humanity do?" Vexthor asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know. Nari smiled, and it was not a kind expression. "We had been preparing for this possibility since we first met alien species. We are a paranoid species, Captain. We always assume the worst. So when the coalition arrived, we were ready." The hologram showed human response teams activating, but they were not military fleets. They were small groups, scattered across hundreds of locations. "We did not fight their ships," Nari explained. "We fought their societies." Kyung continued the story. "Within the first hour, we deployed what we called information weapons. We had been studying all 12 species for decades. We knew their histories, their cultures, their governments, their secrets." The hologram showed data streams flooding out from human space to the coalition's homeworlds. "We broadcast everything," Nari said. "Every lie their governments had told them. Every secret deal. Every corruption. Every mistake. We exposed their leaders completely." Vexthor watched as the hologram showed chaos erupting on alien worlds. Protests. Riots. Government buildings. Burning. "But we did not stop there," Kyung said quietly. "We had also developed biological agents, specific to each species. Not weapons to kill. You understand. Weapons to disable. To disrupt." Nari pulled up technical data. "Your species, for example, is vulnerable to certain sound frequencies. If we needed to stop Velkhani warriors, we would deploy devices that emit those frequencies. Non-lethal, but completely effective." She switched to another species' data. "The Zelnathi cannot process a certain protein compound. It makes them extremely sick, but does not kill them. We synthesized it and prepared delivery systems." Species after species appeared on the hologram, each with detailed vulnerability profiles. "We knew how to defeat all of them without killing," Nari said. "But we also developed lethal options, just in case." The hologram showed the coalition fleet advancing toward Earth. Then it stopped. "What happened?" Vexthor asked. Kyung's voice was heavy with old grief. "The coalition government started collapsing. We had exposed their secrets, and their people turned against them. Some species had been enemies before the coalition formed, and old hatreds resurfaced. We reminded them of every historical grievance, every past war, every reason to distrust each other. The coalition fleet received orders to return home," Nari added. "But the orders came from different parts of their governments, contradicting each other. Some ships were told to attack, others were told to defend. Still others were told to return immediately." The hologram showed the fleet dissolving into confusion. Ships fired on each other as different factions formed. The invasion fell apart, without humans firing a single shot at the alien vessels. "It took 3 weeks," Kyung said. 3 weeks from the start of the invasion to complete coalition collapse. 3 of the 12 species broke into civil wars that destroyed their unified governments. 4 others experienced regime changes. The remaining 5 withdrew from galactic affairs entirely, too damaged to continue. Vexthor felt sick. You destroyed them. We survived them, Kyung corrected. They came to destroy us. We simply ensured they could not try again. Nari pulled up one final hologram. It showed human leaders making a broadcast to the entire galaxy. After the incident, we made a declaration, she said. We told every species in the galaxy that we had no desire for conquest or expansion. We only wanted to be left alone. But we also made it clear that if anyone entered our space again with hostile intent, we would not stop at their fleets. We would dismantle their entire civilization. And you have the ability to do this to any species? Vexthor asked. Yes, Nari said simply. We have been studying everyone for 300 years. We know how to defeat every known species, both militarily and socially. We have weapons we have never used, stored and ready. We have infiltration protocols, economic disruption plans, psychological warfare strategies. We have options for every possible scenario. Kyung stood up slowly, his old body stiff. Do you understand now, Captain? The galaxy does not fear human aggression. They fear human thoroughness. When we commit to something, we commit completely. If we had to fight, we would not just win. We would ensure the threat could never return. He walked closer to Vexthor. But here is what most species do not understand. We do not want to fight. We saw what we became during the incident. We saw what we were capable of, and it terrified us. You fear yourselves, Vexthor said, understanding dawning. Yes, Hana said from the doorway. We are not trapped in here, away from you, Captain. You are safe out there. Away from us. We chose isolation to protect the galaxy from what we might become if threatened. The boundary is not a prison. It is a mercy. 5. End quote. It. Vive. The chamber fell silent. Vexthor looked at the humans around him and realized that their greatest strength was also their greatest burden. They were too good at survival, too efficient at warfare, too complete in their methods. What happens now? He asked. Hana smiled slightly. Now, you have a choice to make, Captain. And we will explain what that choice means for you and your people. They brought Vexthor to a different room. This one had windows overlooking the stars, and a simple table with chairs. Hana sat across from him. Taemin stood by the door. Nari and Kyung joined them, along with Minji, the xenobiologist who had examined him earlier. You violated the boundary, Hana began. Under galactic law, we have the right to detain you indefinitely, or even claim your ship as forfeit. But we do not want to do that. Vexthor waited. He had learned that humans never did things simply. There was always more. You have two choices, Hana continued. The first is that you leave. You take your ship, return to your people, and tell them what you have learned here. You will tell them why the boundary exists. You will tell them that humans choose isolation not from weakness, but from strength. You will be our messenger. And the second choice? Vexthor asked. Taemin spoke from the doorway. You stay. You learn more about us. You understand why we are the way we are. Perhaps you even help us maintain the peace that isolation brings. Vexthor looked at each human in the room. Why would you trust me to carry your message? How do you know I will tell the truth? Minji smiled. Because you are afraid now. Not the simple fear of danger, but the deeper fear of understanding. You know what we are capable of. You know we are telling the truth. That knowledge will be in your voice, your eyes, your body language when you speak to others. You will be more convincing than any human ambassador could be. And if I stay? Vexthor asked. What would that mean? Kyung leaned forward. It would mean understanding us completely. Seeing not just what we can do, but why we choose not to do it. You would see our cities, our families, our normal lives. You would learn that we are not monsters. We are just very, very good at surviving. Nari added, you would also learn our darkest secrets, the weapons we have built but never used, the The plans we have made but hope never to implement. The true extent of our capabilities. Why would you show me such things? Vex Thor was confused. Everything humans did seemed to contradict itself. They were powerful, but chose weakness. They were capable, but chose restraint. They knew everything, but shared nothing. Hana stood and walked to the window. She looked out at the stars, her reflection ghostly in the glass. Because isolation is lonely. Captain, we have had no real contact with other species for 300 years. We trade through intermediaries. We communicate through official channels. But we have no friends out there. No allies. Just fear. She turned back to face him. Perhaps it is time to try something different. Not opening the borders, but building understanding. One person at a time. You would be the first. Vex Thor thought about his crew, waiting on his ship. He thought about the Velkhani Empire and what they would say when he returned. He thought about everything he had seen in the archive. If I stay, do I ever get to leave? Of course, Taemin said. We are not jailers. You could leave whenever you choose. But we would ask that you not share certain specific details. The theoretical weapons, the exact vulnerabilities we have documented, the technical capabilities. You could speak generally about our philosophy and our reasons for isolation, but not the specific methods. Would you trust me to keep those secrets? Nari laughed. Captain, we have detailed files on your entire species. We know your cultural values. Velkhani warriors pride themselves on honor and keeping their word. If you give us your oath, you will keep it. That is simply who your people are. Again, the casual knowledge. The complete understanding. It should have been threatening, but somehow it was just sad. Humans knew everyone, and no one knew them. Vex Thor made his decision. I will leave. I will be your messenger. But I have questions first. Ask, Hana said. Why now? Why allow me to see all of this? Others have crossed the boundary before, according to your archive. You simply sent them back. Why show me the truth? Hana sat down again. Because 300 years is long enough. The galaxy has stabilized. New species have emerged who do not remember the incident firsthand. They only know the stories. Perhaps it is time for someone to know the real story. To understand that our isolation is a gift to everyone. Not just to us. You want the galaxy to thank you for staying away? Vex Thor found this darkly amusing. No, Kyung said. We want the galaxy to understand that the boundary is maintained by choice, not by force. If humanity ever decided to end our isolation, no one could stop us. But we choose peace. We choose restraint. We choose to protect others from ourselves. Minji pulled up a display showing human space. We have developed technologies in the last 300 years that would revolutionize galactic civilization. Medical advances that could extend lifespans. Energy systems that are completely clean. Food production methods that could end hunger. We have solutions to problems that plague the galaxy. Then why not share them? Vex Thor demanded. Because sharing technology creates dependence. Nari explained. And dependence creates power dynamics. And power dynamics create conflict. If we give the galaxy our technology, they become reliant on us. They begin to resent us. Eventually, someone decides we have too much influence and tries to fight us. And then we are back to the incident. So you hoard your advances. Vex Thor said. We protect everyone from the consequences of our help, Hana corrected. Humanity learned long ago that good intentions can lead to terrible outcomes. We tried to help once. Before the incident. We shared some early medical technology with a species that was suffering from a plague. Do you know what happened? Vex Thor shook his head. Their population exploded. They had more people than their resources could support. They expanded aggressively. starting wars with 3 neighboring species over territory and resources. Millions died in those wars. All because we tried to help, Taemin spoke quietly. We learned that helping is not always kind. Sometimes, the kindest thing is to step back and let others find their own path. The room fell silent. Vex Thor absorbed everything he had learned. Finally, he spoke. I will tell my people what I have seen. I will tell them that humans are not the monsters we imagined. They are something more frightening. They are responsible. Kyung smiled. That is a good summary, Captain. They escorted Vex Thor back to his ship. His crew was waiting, anxious and relieved to see him. Hana personally checked their systems one more time, ensuring everything was functioning. The boundary will let you pass, she said. You will not be stopped. Go home, Captain. Tell your truth. Vex Thor paused at the airlock. If humanity ever changes its mind about isolation, will you warn us? Warn. Hana's expression became very serious. Captain, if humanity ever decides to leave our territory, the entire galaxy will know, because we will spend years preparing everyone for that event. We would not simply appear one day. That would be cruel and destabilizing. You have thought about ending isolation? We think about everything, Taemin said. It is what we do. But thinking and doing are different things. For now, and for the foreseeable future, the boundary remains. Vex Thor boarded his ship. His navigator immediately started the engines, eager to leave human space. But Vex Thor stood at the viewport, watching the human ships escorting them to the boundary. 2 weeks later, he stood before the Galactic Council. 40 species waited to hear his report. He told them everything, exactly as the humans had shown him. When he finished, finally, the elderly delegate who had suggested renewed contact with humanity spoke. So, they could destroy us all, but they choose not to. Yes, Vex Thor said. They choose peace because they understand the cost of war better than any species in the galaxy. They are not trapped in their territory. The Quordung Sentin, we are safe out here, away from them. The boundary is not a wall to keep them in. It is a courtesy to keep us protected. The crystalline delegate who had survived the incident spoke. Did they seem willing to negotiate new terms? Perhaps limited contact? Vex Thor thought about Hana's tired eyes, Kyung's old grief, Nari's careful explanations, Taemin's quiet sadness. They are lonely, but they are also wise. They know that contact brings complications, and complications bring conflict. For now, they believe isolation is the kindest path. Another delegate asked, should we be afraid? No, Vex Thor said firmly. We should be respectful. We should honor the boundary. We should be grateful that humanity's greatest strength is their restraint. 300 light-years away, Taemin sat at his monitoring station, watching the long-range sensors. Hana brought him coffee, as she always did. Do you think Vex Thor will convince them? Taemin asked. Probably not everyone, Hana said. But enough. The galaxy will remember for another few generations why the boundary exists. Do you ever wish we could end the isolation? Hana was quiet for a long moment. Every day. But wishing and doing are different things. We made our choice 300 years ago. We chose to be guardians of our own potential for destruction. That responsibility does not end just because we are lonely. She looked at the red lines on the screen, the boundaries that marked human space. The stars know why we stay here. Taemin, they have watched us long enough to understand. We are not trapped. We are choosing mercy. Mercy for them, or mercy for us? Both, Hana said softly. Always both. The monitoring station hummed quietly. The boundary markers pulsed steadily in the void, and in the vast emptiness of space, humanity maintained its vigil, powerful and isolated, protecting the galaxy from themselves. The stars witnessed their choice in silence, and even they knew better than to cross the red lines.